Hi, this is a quick video about NWEA recording and interpreting your scores. So before we get into looking at your actual scores, I need to give you a few reminders about how to interpret your NWEA scores. The most important thing to remember is that NWEA is grade level independent. That means that there is no such thing as where like that all eighth graders or all seventh graders should score at the same level. It's a continuum that you move up and down. NWEA is also not a mastery assessment. So for NWEA, there's no such thing as below basic, basic, proficient, or advanced. Again, it's all about that continuum. What NWEA does give you is a RIT score, and you'll hear your teachers talking about RIT scores. What that stands for is Ready for Instruction Today. And when your teachers get your RIT scores, that gives them a whole list of things that you should be ready for in math, in reading, or in language. It also will give you, so you will get an overall RIT score for each of the assessments that you take: math, language, reading, and eventually in eighth grade for science. You will also, for each of those tests, get a projected RIT score. So what NWEA does is it takes the score that you already got and it looks at, okay, what would a normal seventh grader or a normal eighth grader with more instruction that they've received based on the last time they've taken this test up until the next test, how much should they have grown? And that's where you get your projected RIT score. If you meet your projected RIT score, so if you got a score of 208 on the first time that you took the assessment and it told you that a 213 was your projected RIT score and you get a 213, that means that you are growing at what we would consider an acceptable rate. However, it doesn't get you to what we call acceleration. And so what we want all of our students to do is accelerate, which means you are beating your projected RIT score. So if you got a 208 on your first assessment and your projected RIT score was a 213, but you got a 215 or even a 217, then that's what we consider acceleration. And that means that you're making even better growth. Every goal area under each assessment. So for math, there are 4 goal areas. For reading and for ELA, there are 3 goal areas. You will also see that you get RIT scores for those as well, but you will only get one projected RIT score, and that's that overall or a composite RIT score. The last thing that you need to know is that NWEA is taken 3 times a year. And so really, again, what we're looking for is steady growth. We want to make sure that all of our students are accelerating if possible, and bare minimum that they are at least meeting that projected RIT score each time they take the assessment. So when you're looking at your own scores, it's going to look something like this. And so we're going to talk through some different things that are on here. The first thing you'll notice is that the name of the assessment that you are taking is going to be in the upper left-hand corner. Directly beneath that, you will see a graph. What this does is it actually graphs your overall RIT score or that composite RIT score for math. And you can see that, and that's for fall 2017. Okay. Then directly underneath that, it shows you what your projected RIT would be and actually graphs that line for you. So for this individual, they got a 236 on their fall mathematics NWEA assessment, and their minimum goal is to get a 242 on the next NWEA assessment. What I want you to do at this point is I want you to actually record what you want your goal to be under the student action plan. We're actually going to write more than one thing there. But again, under that, you would say something like, my goal for NWEA math winter assessment, because winter is our next one that's coming up, is blank. So for this individual, they might set a goal of 245 or even 250. Okay. So that's the first thing that I want you to do. The next thing that I want you to do is I want you to take a look at your goal performance. And so you can see that for math, there are 4 different goal areas: number sense and operations, data analysis, statistics and probability, geometry and measurement, and relationships and algebraic thinking. What's great about this is that it gives you a goal or a range for where your RIT score fell. So for number of cents and operations, this person's RIT score was between a 234 and a 246. It does not give you the actual RIT score because they want you to focus really on this overall RIT score. However, what this does show you are some areas of strength and some areas of possible concern. If you see a box that is in green, or if you get a sheet that is printed and was not printed in color, it will be a really dark gray box with white font. That means that is an area of strength. That means that you did particularly well in that area. If there is nothing next to or over your scores for those areas, that means you just fell within an acceptable range, and there really is nothing specific to note about those sections. And then if you get a yellow box, you will notice, and again, if this is printed in black and white for you or in grayscale, you won't be able to see the yellow box, but you can tell that it's in bold and italicized for the font. That's an area of possible concern. And what that means is that that area in particular was lower than what you might like. And it's something that you're probably going to want to focus on as you work to improve. So as you're going through and you're looking at these, in your student action plan, you already have written your goal for what you want your RIT score to be, which ideally is either right at your projected RIT or a little bit above. The next thing I want you to add is kind of a plan based on what you see here. And so one of the things in this person's plan could be to continue their good work for number, sense, and operations. It could be to work to improve their data analysis, statistics, and probability, or geometry and measurement, because neither one of those were necessarily an area of strength. It also could be, and this is probably the most important, to really focus on relationships and algebraic thinking, because that was an area of weakness. Now, as you're going through and you're looking at those areas of strength and weakness, and you may need to record those for your teacher later, the other thing that you can do is put in your action plan some specific steps that you want to take to reach your goal and to deal with some of your areas of weakness. So those things might include making sure to pay special attention in class, actually completing all homework that's assigned, making sure to rework assessments when possible, really taking time on each question on the test. Now, remember that for NWEA, you're not going to want to try, or it's not going to be possible to get every single question right. The test is designed for you to only get 50% of the questions right, and you actually get 50% of the questions wrong. So as long as you are eliminating distractors and making your best guess each time, that can be a part of your student action plan. So all of those could be things that you would add. Let's go ahead and take a look at another one. So here is what it might look like for reading. Again, you'll notice that it's reading up in the upper left-hand corner. You have your your overall RIT score, or that composite RIT score, which has been graphed for you for fall. It also has given a projected RIT score. Now you'll notice that for this one, the projected RIT is lower. There's not as much of a difference between the actual score and the projected RIT. That is okay, because in NWEA, it's actually pretty difficult to move your score quite a few points at a time. So no matter what, you're really only looking about maybe 15 points worth max. But when it shows you something small like this, it's okay to set a goal that is only slightly higher. So for this person, when they record their student action plan, they may say something like, my goal for reading NWEA winter assessment would be a 225 or a 227, depending on what they're feeling like they can do. You'll also notice for this one that there are no areas that are highlighted yellow or green, or that have any white font, or are bold or italicized. That doesn't mean anything negative. It just means that it was an average performance for all of those goal areas. So as this person was writing the rest of their action plan, they may pick a single aspect of this that they want to focus on. Maybe it's vocabulary development, and they really want to focus on that so that that becomes an area of strength. Maybe it has to do with informational text, and maybe they don't feel as strong about informational text, and so they want to prevent that from becoming an area of weakness. That could also be in your student action plan. You can also, again, go back and add some specific things that you are going to do to try and achieve your goals. And so if I'm going to attempt to get a 227 on this, it's clear that that's going to be a little bit of a stretch. And so I would need to be doing things like reading 30 minutes every night, paying special attention in class, having book talks with people. Um, Again, taking my time on the assessment. Maybe I'm going to use some of the annotation features that are built into the assessment so that I'm actively reading as I take the assessment. All of those would be really good to add to your action plan. The last one that we're going to take a look at is language usage. Again, up here at the top, you'll notice the title of the assessment. You'll see your overall or your composite RIT score, which is graphed. And then you will also have your projected RIT. Again, you'll notice on this one that it's a little bit lower in terms of that projected RIT score, and that is okay. Again, in your student action plan, please record what your goal is going to be. So my goal for the language usage for winter NWEA assessment would maybe be 230 or maybe 235, which would be a pretty decent stretch here. It's also possible that you may only see over here in your your goal performance areas, one thing that is highlighted. So for this person, they had an average performance for develop and revise text for audience and purpose and conventions of language grammar, but they had an area of concern here for conventions of language, punctuation, capitalization, and spelling. So in theirs, they may say that they really want to focus on this. And so one of the things they're going to do is really dial back and focus on making sure that they're spelling things correctly all of the time, doing practice things that their teacher might have for them. And so that might go in your action plan. So the next steps for you is you're going to actually carry out the plan that you put in place to ensure that you can meet your goal both during the assessment and after the assessment. Remember that your goal for each assessment, or remember your goal for each assessment. And when you take the NWEA assessment, you're going to want to make sure that you compare the score that you get, because you're going to get your score right away to what your goal was. So you kind of want to make a mental note of those things. Some of you may even want to jot them down in a different location, but you really want to make sure to have that.